Good afternoon. Welcome to another show. I am Jason Medlock. You're listening to I Am Woke. And we have a very special guest tonight, and we will introduce her in a moment. I'm going to bring on my contributor, and that is Tereska Harrison. What's going on, T?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
How's everybody doing out there? Just wanted to, we got an exciting show. We're going to have Michele Bonilla, if I said that correctly. She's the CEO of Spring Wellness Center, but Tereska, she's an awesome prophetic counselor, spiritual counselor. Michele has done it all: massage therapy, Reiki energy master. I can go on and on and on about her, but it should be a really, really exciting show. And I know you have a lot of questions, Tereska, but do you want to greet? Do you have something you want to say or greet anybody from the last show, or did you have anything to add before we dig off into speaking with Michele?
I just want to welcome everybody back to I'm Woke. We had a great conversation on last week.
Yes.
Last Tuesday, and it was awesome conversation. And I think that Michele is going to really carry us to the next level in conversation in this spiritual journey that we're on. So I'm looking forward to listening to her. What she has to say. So let's just get it going, Jason.
Let's just get into it. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her right now. Michele Bonilla. She's the CEO of Eternal Wellness Medicine. Michele has been in private practice for 22 years. Her vision is to help her clients achieve wellness and joy in their daily lives, regarding where they start from. Michele has a diploma in Auduric Sciences, Cranial Sacral Therapy, and color puncture, which she'll get into all of that tonight. She's a licensed massage therapy instructor and continuing education provider. Michele specializes in counseling and trauma using mind-body connection to help her clients release old wounds and come to their full potential. Her techniques are many, therapeutic and holistically based. Though she works in close conjunction with with physicians and psychiatrists to help her clients. She really can dig down in there and help people get better and help people heal. But I want to say right now, welcome to I'm Woke, Michele. How are you doing today? Here she is, the one and only Miss Michele Bonilla. How you doing, Michele?
Hey there, guys. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing
good.
Thank
you so much for having me.
No problem.
We're so happy to have you.
Yes. You know, Michele, I want to dig right off into it. What inspired you to start Eternal Springs?
Honestly, it was guidance. I could feel that I was supposed to be doing something bigger with my life. I was at the time a jeweler and pretty unhappy with doing that, even though I had my own company and designs and all that stuff. And then I just had this feeling that I had to do something that was helpful to people and more. And I was doing that kind of anyway. And I followed the guidance. And so I was told that if I opened it, they would come. And so that was true.
Well, on this show, we're woke. Everybody's woke. And you say, I was told. Yeah, I think our audience knows that, maybe there's some sort of contact there. And we all have our special spirit or God or whoever we speak with. So I'm trusting that, you had very, very good sources that told you to start this venture. But you have a number of services. Oh yeah, you're welcome. You have a number of services in which range from color puncture to past life regressions. What is color puncture? That's one of your services, and I was very interested to figure out kind of what that is.
So acupuncture is using needles to go into the meridians and actually realign the energy and open it up. Color puncture is without needles. It's using color. So it's a wand that has color that penetrates into the photons of the cell and actually does a very similar thing without having the invasiveness of the acupuncture. And a lot of people are scared of needles or whatever. And so it's a way to be able to do that. That's really helpful. And the body is energy and light.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you can use different wavelengths of light to straighten out problems that the body has.
It's funny that you say, it's funny that you say that because just reading and being a documentary junkie that I am, scientists today, not today, but they've been experimenting for years using light to heal. And I don't think people really realize that.
And it comes honestly from Ayurvedic medicine. So, we were talking about this a little before we came on the show. So Ayurvedic medicine comes out of India, East India. It's 6,000 years old. And they understood that the body was light. It's where yoga comes from. It's where a lot of surgeries like nasal surgery comes from Ayurvedic medicine. The use of herbs to rebalance the body. The book that we were talking about, the Eating by Your Blood Type, comes out of Ayurvedic medicine. And meditation comes from Ayurvedic medicine. Those things are brought forward, and now they're being brought into the Western world. And we're so lucky that we have this internet, right here. The three of us are in different places.
Yes.
But we get to have this communion, and all the people that are watching are getting to have this communion and have this awakening together. So really remarkable. And the dissemination of information. And then, when I talk to you guys, y'all are processing something, and then you're going to have a new idea and thought, and then we're going to bat that back and forth, and it's going to go out to the world through the web that we're all connected to. And yes, the guidance came from God, but I also have guides, as everyone does. That's not a particularly special thing that I've been very conscious of for a very long time. And so I've learned to listen and then follow. It's why I'm in Colorado. I live in a house that I saw in a meditation. I had never been to Colorado. And I was sort of like, well, that's great, but where is it? And then I went into another meditation with a map, opened the map, circled immediately. This space was in the middle. This city was in the middle. And then I found a realtor, and I found the house on the third try.
I love it.
Oh, wow.
We jumped out there a little early, and I wanted to ask Michele, what got you started from a young girl to where you are now? Experiences.
I'm lucky
what led you
in
that way?
So I was born in Mexico City. And though there were a lot of things that were difficult in my family and challenging that I certainly had to work through, having some psychic capacity was not one of them. And it was considered really common in my family. And I had come home. I was in a Catholic school, and they didn't particularly like me very well. And I told my mother that I'd seen her dad, who had died when she was 15, and he was helping me in school. And so that was, and I just thought that was normal. Like everyone, I didn't know that other people didn't quite have that tuned in. It's what I call being a native. I just was lucky that I was native to that, and that was not messed with or shut down in my family.
Right.
And she pulled out a picture, and it was my first guide.
Wow.
And then I just thought everyone was like this. It took me a while to realize that wasn't true. And I think we are. I just don't think we allow it,
Yeah.
or we're culturally shut down in some way, either within a family or within the culture. But I think it's really what was really written about, that we would be as Jesus. There's a lot of misquoting about that, but as Jesus and more. I think that it's our ability to be awakened and connected and really feel it
Right.
is what was being said. I just was lucky. And so then it just wasn't messed with. My family was like, oh, okay, well, good. You know, grandma has it and mom has it and your sister has it. So it was just normal. And then I went to college and realized not everyone was quite the same.
Right.
And I didn't want it. And of course, it's ridiculous. I tell people, you know, I bargain with God. So funny, right? The God of the universe, I'm just saying. And I was like, I don't want it. You know, you gave it to me, but I don't want to do it. So I want you to take it away in 5 years. And if you don't, then I'll train it. And, you know, God, I'm sure was like, I'll go make some supernovas until you get over yourself, Michele. And went off and did his thing. And here I am. So I did train it. It was just a waiting game, I think, on that part.
But
so again, very blessed and fortunate.
But not only are you here, you're very well accomplished, and I guess I wonder, you've accomplished a number of, I mean, outstanding skills. In you know, and a lot of them are academia, but more so, it was already inside of you. When
Yeah,
did you really know that you could take it to the next level in your career with the entire
you know,
scope
it
of
was honestly one step at a time. I would get interested in something, or a client would come. They would be challenging in some way, and then I would go study what I thought would help fix that, or help guide them differently. So I got my massage therapy license because I had a lot of people with really serious trauma, and I knew they needed body work because the trauma was lodged in the body also, and they would not refer out. So I went to school so I could do the work. I studied cranial sacral therapy because I realized as I was studying and as I was learning that the trauma is imprinted in the molecular part of the body, but that could be hooked into through the dural tube of the spine. And that washes over, that cerebral spinal fluid washes over the brain. And so there had to be some connection to that. And people who had things that, you know, they were fine physically, but they couldn't function. It has to be something else. It's the energy, it's lodged somewhere. And then at one point they thought that I had some things, that I had a brain tumor. I don't have it, it's fine. But right after the journey that I took on that, God brought me like 3 people who had brain injuries.
Wow.
And I could take what I'd learned and apply it to help them heal.
Wow.
That's special, and that was cranial sacral therapy, and I want to make sure that our audience can follow some of these terms, because it could get kind of big. But all of that, Michele, can you just kind of walk us through the whole? With so many services, you have to pick out what works best for your client, whether it's energy
I
clearing,
really listen.
right, and really listen. So can you, like, not in a perfect world, but just sort of, you know, a client who has a lot of challenges, people hurting out here. Can you walk us through just your steps of how do you identify, what do you do first, and so on?
Okay, so a lot of times people will ask me, you know, can I send you some information, which they're welcome to do. And I do read it, you know, or I talk to the other therapist or the doctor or the psychiatrist or whoever. But I really listen, because you'll tell me, you know, you might not know where to start, but when you start talking and someone's actually listening, I can hear kind of the fibers of where the pain comes from or is leading to. I don't know exactly how to explain it. I've been doing it for 35 years, but and then, you know, most of us want to be happy, and I think that God intended for us to be happy and to really to have the kingdom of heaven on earth. Again, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I'm deeply spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not. Well, what happened?
Yeah.
How did we get not there? You know, and we've had time. So it's got to be filtration of how we view things and how we build our narrative is what I call it, you know, and we all have one. You know, I'm Latin American, I look white, that has a certain flavor on the planet and a narrative. You know, we judge people by certain things. And so I'll start listening to that. And then in that listening, I'll start pulling tools out. How can I help you? I do specialize in trauma a lot, but I interface on chemotherapy. I interface with psychiatrists. I interface with medical doctors. It's just, it's such a very particular story that
Right.
we each have. And in listening to that story, I usually have a pretty good idea of kind of where to start and where to go. And it's really a conversation where I'm guiding you and you're not just in it by yourself talking to a wall. But you know, there's feedback, and you might try this and do that. And then we see on that feedback loop, how does it work and does it help you? My goal is to bring you to your bliss, whatever that is, and however you define that. I don't think you're supposed to be unhappy the whole of your life. And I don't think it's supposed to be uncomfortable to adult, or you're have to do whatever it is that your parents think you should do, or you were taught you're supposed to be. Sometimes the box is too small.
Well, you have a question. I think it's a comment. Miss Debbie King. She says, "I do energy clearing for homes. It's very powerful."
Yes. And homes are a body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we have this body, this is the body suit, but then where we live has that. And if you have people that come in with a lot of stuff, or you get just a lot of traffic, you know, you have a lot of family members, or you have a lot of entertaining, it's what I tell people is it can bring a lot of light, but it also brings a little bit of dirt, you know, like debris, just like cleaning your house. And it's an energetic debris that you have to remove from a home for there to be harmony. And then you have to pay attention on what you're bringing into your home. It's sort of like, what are you bringing into your body when you eat?
Yes.
You know, who are you
So
hanging out with?
how do you clear that out of your home?
I use, this body is now a bio bodysuit that does it. I used to need sage and stuff like that. And certainly sage can be used by people on a regular basis. Cedar, flat cedar is great in prayer. But I don't need those things anymore. I just go in and I do land and businesses and medical practices and all kinds of stuff. There's also beings that died that don't know that they're dead, and they kind of hang out, and I try to help them cross. And depending on what kind of activity families have, you know, like some people have the native stuff like mine, they sort of are a attractor for beings that are lost. It's what I call, they see a light as opposed to the light. And then I get called and come in and clear that.
So Michele, when you know, obviously there's a level of mediumship, channeling, or, you know, being able to connect. So when you are helping different beings outside of the other things that you do, are you actually in a channeling state, or how are you?
I would
What?
think so. I'm in a different state that I'm in right now
Gotcha.
with you guys. But for me, when I see other beings, they look like you guys. I mean, they don't look, I mean, I know that they're not on this dimension, you know, like I know you guys are on this same dimension, this third dimension that we're talking on,
Mhm.
but I can tell that they need help and can hear them and see them.
Wow. And typically it's some type of energy clearing that you're doing for them, or you're just
Sometimes I'm crossing them to the light. Sometimes I'm clearing the energy out of a house. So there's can be what I call schmutz.
Mhm.
And schmutz is just, you've been in a crappy place, you and your wife are fighting or whatever, or you're sad or lonely or depressed or whatever, and it kind of gets in the space.
Right.
And there can also be other beings that you don't want to live with necessarily, and they need to be on the dimension that they're headed to. And I'll do both of those things kind of at the same time.
Okay, so one of the other things that's pretty in vogue now, and I don't want to say in vogue, but it's a lot of people are talking about it, and that's Reiki energy healing.
Right.
And you're a Reiki master. Can you walk us, the audience, through this type of energy
Okay.
healing? And I want people to know before you start, Michele, go to Michelle's website, www.eternalspringswellness.com. That's www.eternalspringswellness.com, and you can get a load of all of Michelle's services, her telephone number, where you can, contact her for any type of healing, and she can assist you. But Michele, can you talk about this type of energy healing and the benefits of it?
Thank you. So Reiki is a ray. So there's healing rays that come to the earth.
Hmm.
I think it's a blessing and a gift, really.
Yes.
And Reiki is one of them. And we're light beings. We all are light beings. So if we're in the right state of mind and or heart and meditation, we can connect to that. And then it moves through our bodies. And for me, it's through my hands. And so I can, when I say I don't mean just me, Michele. I mean, God, the universe, the light of goodness.
Sure.
And whatever people want to call it, lots of people have a tough word with the word God because,
Right.
because the stuff we do here that has to do with humans more than God, really. And I channel that energy through to the other person's body, and it starts correcting things in their body that are a struggle, or I can start telling that there's something going on and actually help them heal that. Now, a lot of times that'll include other people, I mean, you may need a physician, or you may need, a knee replacement or an orthopedic surgeon or something like that. But sort of like how a relationship gets out of line and you have to go and do some work to
Right.
sort of fix it. It's the same inside this bio bodysuit for us. There may be things, that we're not paying attention to or we're not taking care of. And then I'm a helpmate that kind of comes in and helps with that.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And you hear the stories about some people's hands get really, really warm, and when they're moving their hands across certain areas of your body or your third eye. Have do you have that type of energy where your hands heat up, or has your clients ever said, "Wow,
Yeah.
I felt that"?
Yes, absolutely. I may start in a sweater, and I usually have 2 or 3 layers on that I can take off as the body gets hot from the energy moving through. And it's a channel. So what I tell people is, like I'm a PVC pipe, nothing fancy.
Right.
And then your body knows what to do with that. And then because we're connected, we're already all connected, then that starts working to heal you. And sometimes it's an energetic healing just of its own sense. Sometimes it's your mental healing. I'm working on someone right now that had a pretty good case of COVID. and they're on an oxygen tank. And so we're working on weaning them off, and they're working on weaning them off with their doctors. And they bought a pulse oximeter, and we did that while I was doing the work, and their oxygen improved.
Wow. Well, I
You
want to
know,
say,
I don't know that I know exactly how to explain it, or even that I understand it myself. I just know I need to be present for it.
wow.
I wanted
And
to
I know
get,
how to do that.
I want to ask a question. I want to get to know you founded Eternal Springs Wellness, and I'm just curious on the name and your core purpose and what you know on the and what you want to do here, and to kind of give us a talk about that.
Okay, thank you. So it's really about our wellness is really eternal. You know, this is an eternal spirit. You know, right now you're looking at my balls, and there's a Michele in there. That's what this is called this time. You know, and when I die, the body dies. This energy goes somewhere. I have belief systems about that. I know other people have belief systems about that, and it's all good. And for me, it was the spring of that wellness that's not just this lifetime, but for the soul. And that's where the eternal peace came, is the eternal wellness of ourselves.
Wow.
But it's not just the Michele Bonilla self. It's the whole thing. It's the same thing with Jason. With both you guys and all the people that are listening. You know, this is a piece of a journey, but it's not the whole journey. But the more we can do in this piece of the journey, I think the better off we are in the whole journey.
Oh, I want to just do a quick reset. I want to thank all our audiences out there listening. You have tuned into I'm Woke. I am Jason Medlock. My contributor is Tereska Harrison, and we have the very, very, very brilliant Michele Bonilla. And Michele, okay, so
Yes, sir.
you're dealing with a client or a patient that keeps having dreams, the repeated same dream over and over for 3 weeks in a row. And I have friends that have these type of dreams. Where do you even start with a person like that? And
So
you know,
yeah. So your subconscious is talking.
right.
You know, and you know, we're busy people. I mean, y'all know that. You know, you're doing this podcast. You know, we had a bunch of text messages. I know I'm like 1/100th of that whole piece, right? And so we don't have enough time a lot of times to process in our waking time. So then it has to go somewhere. And the sleep time is when your subconscious is most accessible. Not the only time. You can actually learn to do it on a different level through meditation, but it's talking to you is what I call it, saying something. And, you know, there's a lot of dream symbolism information out in the world, certainly on the web. Different people have different interpretations, and also people have a different subjective view. You know, like I know people who think, oh God, snakes, I'm so scared of them. I consider that a really great thing. It's about transformation and shedding your skin and being able to move forward. But for other people, it's like, oh my God, it's venomous and it's like, and I kind of have to take that into account, right? But we start working on what is it that is unresolved or that this is connected to. And sometimes it's from this time. Sometimes it's from trauma from when you were a child that you may or may not remember. You know, you may not have a conscious memory before you're 6 years old, but that doesn't mean you weren't participating and stuff wasn't happening. And that's what is talking to you. And so I try to find what's going on, and then we start resolving it. And a lot of times when I do the trauma work, so I use meditation as part of the trauma work, which really helps, because meditation and trauma, from my perspective, are very similar states. You know, little kids, you'll be walking with a little kid and then they're in an airplane, or they're licking your foot and they're a cat, right? Little kids, they're so cute. They'll be like, meow. And you're like, oh, are you a kitten? All right. Okay. You know, and you just, they've shifted states and they do it just like this.
Yeah.
Meditation is a conscious way to shift state. When you're in trauma, you shift the state because you can't handle what's happening, of course. I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's a protect my brain thing and how we're made thing. So dream time is connected to that. And it's telling me a story of where to look to help you heal. And the way I gauge it is those dreams start going away. You know, they might get further apart, or they'll change, or they'll stop recurring, something like that. And then I know that there's a healing going on in the subconscious of the person and then the soul of the person.
You know, you know, some of that I've already told you, Jason, didn't I not? We talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
But I just believe that the freer and the more you let go and the more you connect to, I was telling them, unconditional love is a way of being free of fear. I mean, once you get into that space, it frees you. And if you are able to release, that's when those dreams go too. Because a lot of times it's rooted with fear, you know, underneath that, I believe.
Absolutely.
Because it comes, because it happens. And then when you have it reoccurring, it's because it's something that you can't let go. I mean, it's something that you're holding on to. So,
you know,
absolutely. And where fear lives, love doesn't.
exactly.
And where love lives, fear can't.
You cannot.
Right.
And that's probably a theme to most of the clients who are dealing with issues. You probably have to stress that to them a whole lot. And you know, I was curious. Have you ever tried any manifestation techniques? And I know you have because you were the spiritual guru. But have you ever tried any type of manifestation techniques? And you know, what were your results?
100%. I do it all the time. You know, I'm busy. So there'll be times that'll be like, I could really use a sandwich or like food, lunch. And then I'll have a client go, you know, I don't know. I was leaving the house and I just thought I should bring you this eggplant parmesan. And I'll be like, that's perfect. Or cup towels. I mean, seriously, you know, there's times that I just like, I don't have time to go get and then we fill in the blank, whatever it is, chicken feed, cup towels, lunch. And then it just comes. And I think I think it's supposed to be like that. Like, I don't believe it's not like that. I believe it is like that. That is the law of attraction. And I think we're connected by the psychic network. It's our real connection. You know, the internet's a little sketchy, you know, like downloading Chrome or trying to figure it out, all that stuff. But we're all connected already.
Yeah.
The illusion is that we're not connected.
Yeah.
And that's just an illusion. It's from this mind, this left brain that says, no, you know, Michele, you couldn't, or Jason, you shouldn't, or, you know, your lovely sister can't because, and then we fill in the blank. Some belief system that somebody else had about you that has nothing to do with who you are.
Yeah.
You know, although Michele, you specialize in counseling and trauma, using the body, using the mind to make the body connect. Have you ever had an experience, or have you ever led a client to use their mind to heal themselves? And I know healing from trauma, but what about actual ailments in the body? You know, sort of like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever can be manifested can be unmanifested. You know, now, if it doesn't manifest, let me say this, that's not your fault or you're doing something wrong, because that's one of the things that happens with, you know, this kind of thinking. And then there's this faulting or blaming someone, you know, they didn't believe enough or whatever. I don't agree with that. But yeah, I'm part of a community, a spiritual community, that you go in and you get a test and you have X, you know, and it's a scary X. And then we start praying and working on you. And then you go back in and it's gone. And it's so common that, I mean, we just talk about it. It's a very common outcome.
Yes.
Now, that said, you know, when someone's really, really sick, physically really sick and really scared, I think giving that person the absolute unconditional support and love in whatever direction they want to go is the right answer.
There's that word again, Tereska, unconditional love.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
was also thinking that what comes with that when you say do the work, when you go in and do the work, because I was also one part of the healing process when it comes to that, because we did an old-fashioned prayer over a person who actually was healed, right? She had cancer, and there was like 5 of us in one room, and we just laid hands on it and prayed and in adoration and was in gratitude and just lifted God up. We just prayed, and the energy, I was telling Jason that the energy was so high in there, that was so strong that she literally was healed. I mean, she had the report.
Right.
The doctor had the report. I mean, and she literally was healed. And all I can say, you know, we pray and believe God, but I just, you know, my thing was that the energy was so high that they couldn't even come in through the door. So
Right. That it just can't exist any longer.
Huh?
It can't exist. That illness can no longer exist because y'all have raised the vibration so much through that love and adoration and prayer. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what happened. I mean, I didn't realize that until, because I'm like, well, what just happened? Because, you know, I believe, you know, you have that belief, and then when it happens, you're like, what? It really happened.
But you know, we talked about on our first show, we talked about, Michele, we talked about prayer. And we talked about prayer, you know, that's just another word for metaphysics. You know, and also
Absolutely.
when we talk about prayer, the vibration level raises. And when Tereska really, really, really gets in there and she prays. Tell them where you tell Michele where you end
It
up,
takes,
Tereska. She ends up floating in the Milky Way galaxy somewhere.
Very cool. Yes. Absolutely.
With a raised
Absolutely.
vibration.
You know, prayer is our access, right? It's a way for us to access.
Yes.
And meditation is listening, you know, but prayer is us saying, thank you. Oh my gosh. Yes, God, you're amazing. Oh my goodness. And this will not exist. I was asked by a friend, her sister was very sick, and we were in a sound chamber doing very similar things, you know, praying and chanting, meditating, all that stuff. And there were 50 people in the sound chamber. And so she asked me to guide it, and I was fine doing that for her sister, right? But we're all in the sound chamber. And I looked around at one point and went, okay, all right. Well, we're all going to get this healing.
yes.
Cool. I don't know if everyone's ready exactly, but all right, you know. And then I tried to say, okay, so for the next 2 years, you kind of need to pay attention because probably some stuff's going to change because you were in there too, in that state. You know, it wasn't just for that one person.
Yes.
And everyone's life changed, and really for the better. But, you know, lots of stuff happened. And yes, absolutely. And, you know, it's such an easy access.
Yeah.
And a lot of people pray when it's really, 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 really bad. And I'm like, you should pray every day, all the time.
Yes.
In adoration. That's the key, though.
Yeah.
You know, Michele,
And
we open our eyes every day. We open our eyes every day and we see this world that we're in. But I was reading a book that said you haven't lived until you close your eyes and you work from the back of the head. That's where everything is, meaning other realms. Have you ever heard it said that way?
No, but I love it. I totally love it. I'm going to totally steal it, Jason, too. It's a great way to explain it to people because, you know, we're such frontal lobe people, you know, and like in Ayurvedic medicine, they talk about you can't see, you can only see what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe your life is limited, that is true. If you believe that you don't deserve help, which is not true, but that is true for you. It's only when you open yourself to all the light and goodness and glory that's available to all of us. And we're all a part of that already. It's not like, you know, Tariska has it better or worse than anybody, you know, we all have that ability. We just have to tune in.
Right.
You know, and I find it interesting that we, for the most part, we come into this world up and running. I mean, we take off. I mean, and before we know it, we're in our 30s or whatever, trying to understand who we really are. I mean, and
right.
I mean that's the sad part about a lot of things. But you know, I believe that I always had that connection and always had that understanding. So I raised my child that way. So I raised her. You know, it's always time. It's always important to take some time, sit by yourself for at least 5-10 minutes, and just hear nothing, and just meditate and think about nothing. I would
Do
tell
we
her to
know?
do that.
Do we really know who we are, Michele? Do we really know?
I think that's the journey, right?
Yes.
And I know people who are 86 and, you know, I go to their bedside and I'm like, wow, oof, gosh, that looks painful.
Yeah.
You know, and then I know people that are 5 years old that will say something that I'm just like, that was so profound. I'm going to go on.
Yes.
We lost Michele. She'll come back.
It's so profound.
I know. And audience, we want to apologize. We do hear the noise too. We have bad connection going on. Michelle's all the way in Colorado in a remote area, so we have to apologize. We keep getting these guests on the show, Tariska, that
well, they're remote. They don't. You know,
Chloe was
it
in
works
Mexico. Remember that?
Yes, they're remote because that's where it's good to be remote.
Yes.
Away from everything.
Yes,
So.
we got her back. She's back. She's got the tune back in.
The magic of the internet.
Hey, the magic of the internet and the magic of the spirits. They're around us. But Michele, you've been able to use all of the childhood experiences and the education you received in college and just journeying all this way. Have you sat back and have you been able to access the Tastic records? Do you know your purpose? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah, I was really fortunate. That was in like my 30s. So I'm in my 60s now. And
you did great. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It's awesome. The light. Thank you so much. It's just, you know, we all have it. I was born to do this. So I picked a very traumatic childhood. You know, I believe on the other side, God and I had a conversation and with my guides, and we all kind of huddled around and said, okay, what I tell people is, and it's a joke, but it's also a little bit true. I was so excited to reincarnate that I was just checking things off, you know, probably talking in line and going, oh my God, don't you miss coffee? Yeah, me too. Chocolate, it's so delicious. You know, I'm checking stuff off. And I also consciously decided to come and experience quite a bit of trauma myself.
Oh, wow.
Part of it was because I was trying to heal my family. And part of it was to learn. And I've taken that and use it for good. And I'm really doing exactly what I came and was born to do this lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate. I mean, not everyone can say that. And I'm really awake and aware of it. And I use it every day. And it's just an amazing blessing and a gift of grace, honestly.
Could I ask a question on how, so when you got to that point, the trauma, because I know a lot of people deal with childhood trauma. And so how do you see it? So your way of seeing it is different. You no longer feel like a victim in that process. Is that correct? Or because you see it as learning, an opportunity to learn and grow?
I didn't start like, oh God, this is so great. I'm so glad I learned all
Right.
this stuff. I started off just mad and a mess and trying the same stuff different day, with the same result, which was not such good ones. And then I thought, okay, if I really believe that God exists and that there's a purpose in every human's life, that includes mine. So what's the deal? And then I started sort of digging around, why was I holding on to the past? Why was I still mad? Why was I not speaking out? Why was I not having better boundaries? Whatever I needed to do at the time. And I did a lot of work, did a lot of my own therapy and meditation and workshops and study. And, once I realized that I was really responsible for what I was creating and what I was still doing.
Yes.
And that there was no one to blame. Yes, I had this history and I had this cultural belief system and I was Latin and, the nuns and whatever the storyline was. But I could decide how I was going to change that narrative and live and how I was going to use that. And that was like the ultimate empowerment. And I went, well, why am I still mad, girl? Gotta work some stuff out. Now, I had to get a bat and go out and scream my head off and beat the ground and, get it out of my system and do 100 push-ups every time I thought about this particular incident or whatever. But once I got that out of the body and I got it out of my spirit, really, I started thriving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good. I think that's good. It's gonna help somebody. I believe that's gonna help somebody because those are you just gave some exercises and things to do to get past that.
Right. When we had a conversation, Trust, because we know people who could potentially be suffering from depression, but then we can sit back and diagnose them to try to bring them to more of a woke status, a more of an understanding status, so that they can heal themselves. But
I always say enter into the light, enter
I know,
into
love. But Michele, when people are at that place, how are they able to pull themselves out? And I just think it's a tough task, not impossible.
Yeah.
But we can always diagnose somebody, but how can we self-diagnose and help ourselves?
Understanding that you're depressed. I mean, when you notice that everyone else is outside and is pretty and you're laying in bed and there's nothing really wrong with your physical body to get out of bed.
Right.
Something else is going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then asking for help is really helpful. The brain gets addicted. Dr. Dispenza talks about this quite a lot. It gets addicted to hormones that you generate. So if you get depressed because things happen in your childhood or things happen in your life, absolutely, I understand that. But depression is not supposed to be your permanent state. Depression is an event that says, look here, and then change your circumstances or change your life or move in a different direction. It's what I call a post-it note. Now, when you're really depressed, and I was for a long time, and I would lie in my bed and I'd see a gorgeous day outside, blue sky, I'd have the curtain open that much, right? And I think I should get up. I finally started listening to that and I got up. And I would roll out of bed and really do push-ups and sit-ups and try to start changing my brain chemistry because I knew that it was stuck and it was running on this circle.
Yeah.
Changing your brain chemistry. That's a key word now.
Now let me just give a little testimony because I can feel the same way. Because we've had loss in our family this year, and we just lost our mother in December, and so I've been dealing with grief, and I've talked about that before, and I felt the same way. I had that recycling thing, not want to get up, that dragged out energy, but I began to. I saw something where I read that if you just count, this is a book out, just count to 5 or 6, something like that. I just began to count to 5 and I would just get up. I mean, right. I use certain little exercises just to move because I know the movement, once I get going, I'm much better. But
right. And Michele, let me differentiate.
Go back to brain
also
chemistry.
grief depression, because depression is stuckness.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yes.
emotions that are kind of clashing, trying to go through a door, and they, it's like if 20 people trying to get through the door, nothing kind of gets out.
That's true.
Being sad and having grief is something you do have to honor, but sometimes the 5 seconds is enough for that moment or that hour or that day or whatever. And eventually it does, as you move through it, it gets better. I don't know that it exactly, you don't miss that person depending on how they were in your life, but
but it gets
yeah,
you moving.
I'm sorry.
It gets your, I believe, because it can lower your energy and lower your vibration and lowers all that. But it can get you up and moving, and your vibrations going.
But I want to bring something to the audience's point. I mean, to the audience's attention. When Michele said, "I'm trying to change my brain chemistry," because you can be in a place of depression, a place of just mental anguish, pain, whatever the case may be. When you begin to work through those things to try to move yourself from that space to a better space or a higher vibration, you are changing your brain chemistry. And when you said that, Michele, that's one of the Dr. Joe Dispenza's classic lines. I mean, he always talks about brain chemistry and changing it, and we can do it.
We can. And neurons are being built and dying off all the time. And you can pick which ones you want to stay alive by the ones that you keep on stimulating, and the ones that you don't want to have depression, anger, you're mad at the cars because people are driving. Well, y'all live in Houston. I mean, it's traffic. I mean, there's just going to be people driving.
Well, you got out
that energy and be upset all the time, or you can just be like, I'm going to just sing while I'm in my car and I'm going to enjoy it, or I'm going to think about positive things, or I'm going to pray for the people that are annoying me, who are cutting in line, and love them. And so you're already on a different tack.
So I'm a Billy Carson fan as well. Joe Dispenza, Greg Brayton, all of those guys, and Michele.
Yeah.
But listen, one of the things we talked about brain chemistry and trying to rewrite your brain chemistry. How about rewriting? And I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Rewriting your RNA by using the 42 words of Mayat, which are chants, basically, which are affirmations. By using different manifestation techniques, you can actually rewrite your RNA as well.
Absolutely. And change the DNA. One of the things we know about the DNA is it zips and unzips.
Yeah.
And you can unzip it consciously and change things in it through intention and through chanting, meditation, prayer. And chanting, meditation for me is listening. Chanting and prayer are kind of the same thing. Chanting is just, this has worked for thousands of years, so we're passing this down. It's in Sanskrit or Urdu or Hebrew or some ancient language, and we just know it works. If you do this, then it'll do that. And affirmations. Most of us have a really terrible judge that sits in our brain that says, "Oh, Jason, look at you. You got up. Well, you think you're all that." So, just like the most negative stuff, and you would never tolerate it in a car from your friend, right? If you were in a car with a friend and they were like, "Jason, well, what?" You'd be like, "Excuse me, you got to get out of my car. You're walking home."
Yeah.
But we accept it, but it's in our brain. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Michele, we've run out of time, but I want to talk about a few more services, and I do not want to skip over. And there's a lot of women out there. Fertility. Can you talk about that service that you offer, and what that entails?
Yes. So I have a friend right now who's trying to get pregnant. Her stress level's off the chart. So what I tell people is, your body is ancient. We're very evolved. We're woke. We've got the internet. That's really cool. We're learning how to move energy. Awesome. The body is when the Torontosaurus were walking around on the earth. You know, if something falls, it goes, eek, oh my God, we're going to all die. And it's just, something fell off a shelf. If it is stressed out, if it is not being nurtured enough, if there's not enough downtime, rest, good nutrition, a balance of hormones and vitamins and minerals, it will not get pregnant.
Okay.
It wants to please you, but it needs you to be able to run away from the Tyrannosaurus more. And you have to know and start working with your body. It's not like it's an adversary. You're a helpmate to this bio bodysuit, and it's not going to put you in danger.
Right.
And pregnancy becomes dangerous if you can't run from the Tyrannosaurus. So you have to know that you have to have the time to just kind of chill out. And there's lots of different things that contribute to that. I mean, there's also genetics and how many pregnancies. And I mean, there's a ton of stuff that's involved in it. But if women can realize that they have to work with their body, and that it's not just a car that you throw a McDonald's in and a supersized Dr. Pepper, and it's going to consider that food and make a baby, that'll probably help.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Tereska, you have any questions before I ask Michele to take us home?
Yeah, she can take us home. I have a lot, but I won't.
Well, I guess what, and Michele, you and I talked about this, and we both, I'm the one that's trying to learn how to be as half as good as you, but we talked about if it's the right time, and could there be a message for the audience that you could possibly channel, if you're up to it?
I would tell people to really get quiet and listen to that little tiny voice that we mostly ignore. Get the judge to go take a hike. That judge needs its own apartment and a separate car. Get it out of your life. As soon as you start hearing that stuff, just go, shh. No, I'm not going to listen to you. We all have this little voice that says, what's really good for you, Jason, what's really good for you, Tereska, what's really good for you, Michele, is. And start following it, even if it sounds really crazy. And your left brain goes, oh, but that won't organize with the da 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 da. You just take a step and really ask for help. We all have guides and light and goodness all around us, but they can't help us if we don't ask, because they can't intervene with our free will. And so just try to get quiet enough to listen, and then think, what's going to make me thrive? And then do that. And then you do that every breath. That'll be pretty terrific. Oprah used to say, just do the next right thing. But the right thing, not only in life and morally, but for yourself.
That's
and
awesome.
I would say that to everyone.
And
I'm also say how grateful I am.
Your biggest
and have an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm so
well. We're very excited to have had Michele. Michele, we're going to go ahead and move you off. And
thank you, Michele.
Thank you, Michele. Remember, go and check out Michele's website at www.eternalspringswellness.com. Please log on to this woman's website. Look at her stuff. She offers a variety of services. She is awesome. We could have gone 2 hours, Tereska.
I'm very well connected to her. I feel the connection with her. I really do. Everything she says, it's kind of lined up with how I think and process stuff.
You can feel her energy. You can feel her, her light.
Yes.
It's just some people that just they emit this light when you first meet them, and when you hear her talk and go through some of the things, you can tell that all of these different modalities and all the different techniques she's using to help people is coming from inside of her, and it's been given to her by her guides, but she's lived it too. And
Yeah.
I just I don't know what to say. It was very, very, very enlightening.
Yeah.
Again, www.eternalspringswellness.com. If you're dealing with any sort of issue, let me go through her services one more time. She offers spiritual counseling, child massage, stress management, trauma release, massage therapy, house and office clearing. And I was talking to you today about that, Tereska, about clearing your aura.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about fertility, exercise and meditation, energy clearing, cranial sacral therapy, and color puncture, which she mentioned acupuncture, but color puncture is using light. And the one thing that we have to understand is that light heals. Light heals. I mean, they're using light right now, doctors, scientists, and because it heals, and it's something that's a proven fact. Trust me, just awesome information. Awesome information.
Great information.
I'm gonna let you talk about. You go ahead and talk, but I want you to, before we get off, I want you to talk about next week's show.
Well, it was so interesting that we had Michele on because she really got a chance to portray parts of a spiritual gift that she has and what she's doing and how she sees people on different realms and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to extend that to next week. We'll have Pastor Bridget Goins, who is actually going to talk about spiritual gifts as well. And it's gonna be a great time. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a great time. So any of you out there who don't know what your spiritual gifts are, you might get a chance to listen in, and maybe she can help you kind of figure that thing out.
Well, okay, and that wraps it up for us. Pastor Bridget Goins will be on with us next week. We're going to do a 2-part series on spiritual gifts. You're listening to I'm Woke. I'm Jason Medlock. We surely enjoyed your company. But remember, next time, ask questions. We have people that are looking at the show, and sometimes, you may be a little nervous, but ask questions. I mean, we really, really would like to hear from you. And again, thank you very much, and good night.
Good night. Good night.